about what's going to be going down the arc by the last speaker. I'll be reviewing them and showing why they do not stand in the state debate round, and is going to be reaffirming the point of the status quo. Now, I'm going to start off with the criteria, which I would assume that the affirmative team now agrees with, is promoting democracy and security. Which team better upholds this criteria, promotes democracy and security? We'll see how the status actually does this over that the affirmative team. Now, her first contention basically was that my evidence was from 2007, and expansion has changed from 2007 to 2011. I have 2 points about this. My first point is that my evidence is actually 2009, just clarifying. And according to her, that was the last time expansion occurred. So I think that's pretty up-to-date evidence on where Russia stands. But evidence is talking about how Russia values the relationship with the United States and NATO over that of risking it with nuclear war and all of these other things that the affirmative team was claiming. My second response to this is in their evidence in their 180 that they brought up, 3 pieces of evidence is actually referring to the time of 1997. The pieces of evidence were that pushing Russia away, difficult to defend, and that we must defend. Those 3 pieces of evidence that they brought up in their 180 were from 1997. And if by their own logic, expansion has changed in 1997 and from 2011 from their own contention by that fact, then all of those points should be disregarded in the debate round. Expansion has changed that much. Now, my next point is that she said that basically that they're getting rid of their arms when they join NATO. Now, she did not provide any examples of this actually happening from the countries that were expanded in 2009. I asked her, and she said that she did not have those specific examples. Also, they have not provided evidence showing that the countries trying to get in or since NATO trying to expand it are going to be selling their weapons either. In matter of fact, in their evidence, it did not say that the weapons that were being sold were used for terrorism. So again, you see that they cannot prove that the weapons being sold at all were used for terrorism, because it's not in the evidence, and it's not something we've ever been able to prove. She asked you to float it as negative. Moving on to her next point, she brought up the risk of nuclear war. Now, I would like to point out that NATO is an alliance, and everyone has to bring something to the table in this alliance. Now, if we look at it, what is more significant? Protecting 27 countries under one alliance, or being scared of the Russian government? See, this is where Russia is trying to admit that they're actually afraid of NATO, because if you think about it, NATO was created to go against the Russian government. That was the purpose of NATO. And so, of course, they're going to say, maybe we'll have a nuclear war or something. They're trying to show that they can stand up to us. But if you think about it, it's 27 countries against one. There is no real threat of nuclear war. And, of course, the United States is absolutely taking care of it. This isn't going to result in nuclear war. Again, our last extension was in 2009, we had extensions in 1997, and in the past, and none of them have resulted in nuclear war. So I'm asking to close this argument negative. Now, I asked her the context, why did the United States support expansion? And she said that she did not. Now, the reason why the United States supports expansion is because it promotes democracy and security. And this is from Major John Kerry, March 1st, 2009. He says, expansion furthers freedom and democracy and free enterprise in Eastern Europe, relying largely upon Woodrow Wilson's democratic history. NATO seeks to spread democracy and free market because liberal democracies, as there do not declare war on one another. So what we see here is 2 things. Is that NATO expansion actually increases democracy and security, which upholds the criteria of NATO. And second of all, because it decreases the chance of war, the more countries that actually join into NATO. We see that this is a significant benefit for the United States. So when we see what happens, see the rundown of the debate, we see that they brought up several pieces of evidence that are talking about expansion had to do in 1997. None of those should be relevant. These should be further than we have said themselves. Second of all, we've seen that none of their evidence actually look at the weapons that these people are selling are actually going towards terrorism at all. They do not support this point, and thus it flows negative. And so finally, because of the status quo supports alliances and promotes democracy and security, and thus it should be upheld because NATO expansion is the current policy, and it should not be closed, and we should not lock the door forever. Thank you. Let me ask you to vote again.
will Bosnia affect our security? That's a question that we have to ask when evaluating whether to let small countries like Bosnia join NATO. We need to first consider whether this affects the United States national security, and then look at other issues. So in this first affirmative rebuttal, I'm going to be looking at the negative argument and showing how we need to value our security above other policies. And that brings me right to the criteria. Now, the negative team presented the criterion of promote democracy and security. I would agree with this criterion. It's a great criterion to have for promoting security and democracy. But I'd like to point out security seems to be our foremost consideration before we consider democracy. So, to summarize that, I agree with the good criterion, but security needs to be first. So now most of the arguments over the last two negative speeches were under harm. So let's jump on and start right there. Now the first harm point brought up in the human speech was that there are no examples of these weapons being used. I would like to reference you back to the evidence that I presented in the 180, which specifically mentioned ex-Soviet countries and Warsaw Pact countries, and that these countries do sell their weapons to terrorists. Evidence was brought up in the 116. The second point under harm is they said that there's no proof that Russia will attack us. This can be summed up in one word: favorability. How does Russia favor us? It's not necessarily about whether Russia will launch nuclear weapons and destroy our nation. It's about, in general, our relations with Russia. And we need to consider how our policies are affecting that. Sure, Russia will probably never launch a nuclear weapon at the United States, but we need to look at how our relations are, in general, affected. Let's move to the third harm argument. The argument here was saying that a country is less likely to attack 29 countries as opposed to one. Basically saying it's safer to be in NATO. I'd like to point out NATO countries get attacked. Just look what happened on 9/11. There are specific instances throughout history where NATO countries get attacked. It's simply a fact of life. Now, my fourth harm argument, they were talking about how there's no evidence that they will increase relations. My response is that we're removing a threat. And when we take out this major stumbling block between the United States and Russia relations, it's obviously going to help our relations. Good thing about it. If someone's pointing a gun at your head and they stop pointing a gun at your head, your relations are a lot better than not doing what you can. So their fifth harm point was talking about how there are 27 countries against NATO and we know nuclear wars. That's really what we're talking about. I'd like to cross-apply this to the argument I said before. How does Russia favor us in general? We're not specifically talking about a nuclear war with Russia, probably won't happen. But in general policy, Russia is a superpower. We need to consider how our policies directly affect them, which affects our national security. The sixth harm argument was NATO expansion decreases the chance of war. Morgan's point here was that democracies are less likely to declare war on each other. I'd like to see a quick piece of evidence here from the Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. And it's from Thomas E. Nichols, who's a research fellow in the National Security Program. And in 2009, he said this: well, NATO expansion creating a situation was opposed to avert. Raising tension in Europe. We've seen through evidence that NATO involvement does not actually decrease tension. If anything, it increases it. As Kevin said, it's creating the problem it was supposed to avert. The seventh argument was talking about how our evidence was from 1999. It actually was. That was one piece of evidence, which was from 2009, where the author referenced an expert from 1999. The evidence is not from 1997, I'm sorry. If you could, I would encourage you to ask the one afterward and look at it yourself. So now we move to significance. You talked about several things. I think we can all break it down. We're going into priorities. We need to keep the priorities of our foreign policy straight. We need to keep the national security of the United States foremost. Then we can start out talking about different democracies. About its disadvantages, let's keep our priorities straight. Keep the security of the United States foremost and stop negotiating.